Hey guys, today we're going to do Freight Train by Elizabeth Cotten. I love this song. It's so good, and it's from an artist. She was pretty close to me. I mean, North Carolina's not that far, but just some really good folk music, old school kind of almost bluesy picking that she really had. She's got some really good stuff, but I think this is my favorite song by her. There's also a really good Gary Clark Jr. version that you should check out on YouTube, just to kind of see his guitar playing, because you can see a close-up of that. Okay, so let's get started. So this song's pretty simple. It's not that hard as far as the chords go, but I'm going to show you how you can do some embellishments to kind of get that melody underneath it, where you hear the stuff like that. And so we can look through that. But let's just do the basics first before we get to that. Alright, so the song repeats itself over and over again, and it's the same chords, okay? So what you've got here at the beginning is a C chord. Now you're going to do this finger picking. Elizabeth Cotten, there's a video where she kind of talks about how she played it, and she said she only used her thumb and her pointer finger. Just now you can do that, or you can use all three of your fingers. It doesn't really matter. If you want to sound more like Elizabeth Cotten, I suppose you would do the thumb and the pointer finger, but it's up to you. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start with a C chord, and you've got the first line, right? So it's... Now the reason that the thumb and the pointer finger is good is you can just kind of pick the bass note and then strum down with your pointer finger. That's the right hand. Freight train running so fast. And then you're going to go to a G. Alright, so from our C we're going to go to a G. Now I would recommend when you're playing your G here to play it like this rather than like this. I'll tell you why in just a minute. Because you're going to do your middle finger on the second fret of the A string, your ring finger is going on the third fret of the low E, and then your pinky is going to go on the third fret of the high E. And the reason is because you're going to hear this change to a G7. And you're going to... It's much easier to do that when you got your pinky here rather than going... Alright, so we're going to do that. So that's the second line. So we got freight train running so fast. So it's going to start with a G, and it's immediately going to go to G7, right? So we got... And then we're going into our C chord again. And when you do the C chord the second time, you hear this kind of pinky on the third fret of the high E. So you're going to throw that down there. It's going to sound good going there. And then you're going to hear this change where it says, please don't tell what train I'm on. And that starts with an E7, okay? And you want to use your pinky. So an E7 is just a middle finger on the second fret of the A string, a pointer finger on the first fret of the G string, everything else is open. But then you want to use your pinky on the third fret of the B string and give it a little bit of a bend up, just like maybe a half step. And so from there, you're going to an F chord. And with the F chord, you want to kind of play, I play it like this, and you could just do a bar chord and just let good enough be and not worry about this. But if you play it where you wrap your thumb around and grab the third fret, the first fret of that low E string, then you bar the B and E on the first fret, your middle finger goes on the second fret of the G, and you extend that ring finger out to the third fret of the D string, you can allow it to do this, where you use your pinky to bend the third fret of the B string up there. And then you're just kind of resolving it with, oh no, back to a C, G, right, I'm on C. And then if you want to kind of tag it before you get to the next verse, you can just hit that E7 again, F, C, G, C. Alright, so what we're going to do is let's just walk through the verse really quickly, just one time, and I'll call out the chord changes. And then I'm going to show you the little embellishments you can do. Okay, so we've got C, G, G7. Ooh, I see I didn't do G7, C, E7, C, G, C. Freight train running so fast. Freight train running so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. Won't know what route I'm on. Okay, so notice when you're singing it, you go a little bit longer on that G chord than I did, but you get the gist of the changing the chords there. Alright, so now I want to show you the embellishments that you can do to kind of play the melody. Alright, so what you have here is it's going to sound like this. And then from there it's just D chords. So you're really doing this in the C and the G, C beginning before you hit that E7. Alright, so what you want to do is, I recommend, this is where you could actually pick with your 3 fingers instead of just your pointer finger. You could keep this going though. So what you want to do, let me just show you the notes you want to accent here. So you want to pick the 3rd fret of the A string, which would be our C note, at the same time that you're starting with a 3rd fret of the high E. So you got this. And then you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to do an open E string. So 3 open, still plucking that 3rd fret of the A string. And then you're going to move your finger up to pluck the 3rd fret of the B string with your pinky finger. This is the fretting hand, right? And then open B string. Then we're switching over to our G chord. So you're plucking the low E string of the 3rd fret and the high E string of the third fret. And then going back to a C chord. So let me start that over, right? So we got, so that's where we are, I'm sorry. So first thing you're going to do is a 3rd fret of the low E, B string open, and then you're going to hit the 3rd fret of the high E and the 1st fret of the high E. That's where you get that G7 there. So we'll do that again. Let's start from the top, right? So I'm going to go real slow. 3rd fret, high E. 3rd, 1st, stay on the G, 3rd, the high E, 1st of the high E, open E, then you got your 3rd of the B, and then back to the C with your open, or your 3rd fret of the high E, open E, and then you're into your C, your E7. So let me go through that again because I definitely wasn't clear. Alright, watch this. So just look at the finger here. The pinky is where you're going to see the changes, and then watch the right hand and what it's picking. So it's, just for clarity, one more time, I'm just going to call out the high E string, okay, or in the high B string. I'm going to assume that we know to keep our bass note going, okay? So we've got 3rd fret of the high E, so 3rd fret high E, open high E, 3rd fret of the B, open B, we're switching to our G chord, 3rd fret of the high E, 1st fret of the high E, 3rd fret of the high E, 1st fret of the high E, open high E, 3rd fret of the high, 3rd fret of the B, back to our C chord, string, so in this case it would be the first fret of the B string, the 3rd fret of the high E, and then we're into our open E, and then into our E7. So that's kind of confusing. I probably didn't do a terrific job at that, but I hope you can slow it down and kind of figure that one out. Not my best work there, but nevertheless, it's there for you. Alright, so I hope I found that helpful, at least to get a good start. Again, Elizabeth Cotten has a really good version, obviously, because she wrote it. And then Gary Clark Jr. too is a really good resource for this song. So